What's up guys, Goat Rodeo Gaming here, back with another video from Transport Fever 2. I made another map, Southern California. It's a huge map, and we're going to start off with the Port of Long Beach right here. So stay with me, I think you guys are going to love this one. It runs a little slow down here, as you can imagine, because it's such a massive map and it's got so many working parts. So we got the Port of Long Beach right here. We got all the goods. Got the ports all lined up. You can utilize ships, trucking, planes, everything you want to do in this map. Already laid down the train tracks, which will be realistically routed, as you'll see. So we got everything you'd want and more right here. Apologize for the slowness. This computer's been working pretty hard today. Got some custom industries, shipyards, recycling, custom little container area, some older industrial places no longer being used. There we go, now it's starting to unlock. Got a coal export. They used to export coal out of Long Beach. I don't believe they do anymore. By the way, I am a former Union Pacific conductor, and I used to work in Southern California for the railroads, so this is going to be about as good as it's going to get for recreating SoCal. So you get the gist of the port. It's got all these different mechanisms and parts to it. I made a cool little island out here that you can take advantage of too. This is basically like your imports and exports from China or really anywhere overseas. So take advantage of that. Alright, so let's go back and we will start to leave the ports. So what I did is I made 2 rail yards coming out of the port. I still gotta shore this up a little bit. I was just gonna put a depot here. This is just a transfer. So this is our intermodal yard. This is our manifest yard. So coming out of Long Beach from this right section of the port is gonna be intermodal containers. So what my plan is I'm gonna have basically like harbor switches, locals, yard jobs, whatever you want to call it, go in here, bring them out, bring them back to the freight yard. So we're supplying the freight depot with smaller trains coming in and out of the port. This is basically how they do it right now in real life. Then we'll have the longer mile-long stack trains come in, load up with the cargo that they're supplying this yard with. Same thing over here, but only this is manifest, which means mixed freight. So as you can see, not as many containers. These are just for looks at the moment. You can change them to produce goods or change them to whatever you want. Right now it's just all this stuff for me. So it'll be a lot of harbor switchers, but it'll be manifest. That's the difference between these 2 docks basically, and then over here's manifest as well. There is a connection track, so if you want to run it differently, you have options. So same thing, local harbor switches come in, supply this freight yard for the manifest trains coming in. Okay, so now we're going to head north. Got all the, at least what I would think are the important cities of SoCal. So we've got Huntington Beach, Long Beach, San Pedro, Torrance, Redondo, Compton, Downey, all these places. So let's start giving, we'll start giving you a tour of the whole map now. Now it's about 95% done. By the time you watch this video, it'll be available on the workshop. So make sure you head over there and download. Link will be in the description of this video of where you can find this mod. So we're leaving the port. You'll have a fully loaded train. This is a split between the intermodal and the manifest yard. I felt like doing something a little bit different. This isn't totally realistic in yard design, but yeah, I was just kind of feeling it. We have triple main track with crossovers, so you can go for 1 to 3 or 3 to 1 or anything in between. If you look at the routes right here, pretty good stuff. So this would be, I guess, the ditch as they call it, coming out of Long Beach. I've been through it a few times myself. Pretty cool. The Alameda Corridor. So this is where the UP and the Santa Fe merge off of the Southern Pacific. This is set in 1985 so that you can utilize intermodal. but it's not too modern, so you can kind of work through it and grow your cities. So we'll go with the Southern Pacific first. I think that's kind of the best part of this map is the route I made for them. So we're coming in Los Angeles right here. This is the LA River. I also did some of the basic freeways that you can find in Southern California. There's obviously more now, but these are the big ones. So we come into LA, there's a little freight yard. Got some industries here. And you can serve the city with all of its cargo needs. Leaving here, we got the Y here. This is where the Alhambra sub starts technically. We'll follow that in a second. But we're still heading north towards Van Nuys, Burbank, and then Palmdale in the high desert. So this is my rendition of Taylor Yard. So it's 1985, so the Taylor Yard still existed. Now I believe it's a park. It was pretty much shut down once the UP took over. So Taylor Yard was pretty cool because it kind of followed the river, which is what you see, I made it do. So coming up this way, you get into Burbank, San Fernando. This is the line that runs up and then ends up in Palmdale through Mojave and then to Tehachapi. As you can see, pretty good grade. And then we don't have enough map to keep going, so I basically just made this as like a portal. So it's got cargo put in, cargo that comes out. And I tried to base it on what kind of trains in real life actually come out of this location and the cargo that they carry. So for instance, back in the day, you used to get the Southern Pacific oil train that would come out of Saco, which is by Bakersfield. So that's why you got oil coming out of there. You can have some stone too, which stone to me in this game kind of represents, you know, stone, gravel, cement, maybe like potash. So you would get, you know, the Trona ash and the Trona trains fully loaded that would come out of here as well. And then we'd also get some trains coming down from Oregon that had a lot of lumber on them back in the day. So we're going to go back. This is where the UP, former UP workers, you could tell. This is where the SP Coastal Sub is what I call it. Branches off. Runs through Northridge. Got Van Nuys down here. And then it kind of has this short but sweet little grade with a long tunnel in real life that comes down the Simi Valley. And we run out of maps. So once again, we have our inputs and our outputs. Basically like a portal. Back in the day, there was some oil coming out of places like Oxnard. We got food coming out of there because up by Oxnard, Camarillo, there's a lot of farming. Basically, Simi Valley and west, there's a lot of farming. So that covers that. So we'll go back down to Taylor Yard, back to the Y here. We'll go down the SP's Alhambra subdivision. So this was the SP's main line going east in California. Get the City of Industry. This is where the UP would meet up when they put their tracks in. SP single track with sidings. All the sidings work. They're long. I haven't exactly tested how long, but I think you can easily run a mile-long train on this map on any of the routes that I have. Coming up through here, coming into Pomona. This is where they kind of separate again. UP runs down to Megalomaniac towards Riverside. SP basically keeps heading due east. So here we got my rendition of West Colton, where I spent a lot of my railroad time working out of, was the West Colton Yard. So here we got the receiving yard, and I actually put down a station. So SP West Colton Receiving Yard westbound. I'll explain in a minute what my plans are. SP West Colton Receiving Yard eastbound. Over here we got a rendition of the hump coming out. This is a smaller version of West Colton, but it's for a smaller version it's very accurate. So built this by memory, try to include all the important things. Down here we have the bowl, so this is where the cars would hump into. We got the long tracks for the departing trains that are about 7, 8, 9,000 feet. We got the locomotive fuel racks and facilities. We got the trim tower. This is the tower that used to deal with the yard jobs that are building outbound trains from the Bull. We got the departure yard. The short tracks is what we called it. Now these long tracks didn't exist during the SB, but I figured I'd just throw them in there just to give the yard a little bit more meat to it. So what my plan is that if you see here, we got the West Colton departure yard, West Colton yard job, and then this is just a freight transfer. So whatever's delivered here will go through both to here. So I probably won't use this. So what I'm planning on doing is I'm actually going to use this as a functional yard, and how I'm going to do that is westbound trains pull in to here. So they're going this direction. That would be west. They pull into here, they unload. I have a yard job come down, pick up the cargo, come down, deliver it to the departure yard. So then the westbound trains continue west. They're empty with whatever they need to drop here. We got eastbound trains coming in for right here. This would be east. They come in, drop their cargo, then they proceed to the departure yard where they load up with more cargo, and then they depart going whatever direction, east or west. I included the balloon track here at West Colton so trains can depart and go back west if you can configure it correctly with the routes. So basically I'm going to have yard jobs coming in here and transferring cargo back and forth as trains pull in from all directions and leave from all directions. Now, functionally, this isn't the way to do it if you're looking just to make money, and you don't have to do it this way. But if you're looking to use West Colton as a realistic rail yard, look no further. This is the best way I could think of it, and you can always make your own changes to it. Alright, so depart West Colton going east. We have the Y for the Mojave sub going up the Cajon Pass. Yes, the Cajon Pass is included. All these tracks and signals are included in the route. So this is all pre-laid stuff. It'll be just like this. So first we're going to go east, come out of West Colton. We got the diamond here with the Santa Fe and San Bernardino. We're going to start climbing up San Mateo Canyon, or what they call the west side of Beaumont Hill. We got Ardennes Mills. This is a real grain facility here in Loma Linda. So we're climbing. Also, I included a little branch line that goes down there to Loma Linda. So we go up through San Mateo. It's a steep grade. Kind of goes in between as steep as you can go and as mild as you can go. I might do a little bit more work here on San Mateo by the time you watch this and by the time the mod is out, just to make it look a little bit more realistic. But we'll see. I've put in a lot of work on this. This was all flat when I started. So we come up here and we run out of map again. We run out of map here at Beaumont. So we at least get to the top of the hill. I'll show you this little section in a minute, but first, then we got our inputs and outputs. So basically our portal for Beaumont. Now the SP used to run a coal train up through here going east. So we have an input for that. And then you used to have the Kaiser Eagle Mountain iron ore mine that would bring iron ore to Kaiser Steel. So we got iron ore that will load up and proceed west, which you could take to Kaiser Steel. So that's the end of this side of the map. Now this part, it's pretty cool. Spend a little bit of time, not a whole lot of detail, but this is what they would call the Beaumont job. So you would take a train from West Colton up to Beaumont, and you'd switch out two places. You'd switch out the lows down here and the chicken feed right here. So I basically try to do my best to recreate the lows and make it look halfway decent. These are the two tracks that you have at lows. Center beams go right there. Boxcars go inside. They used to deliver to this cement place, but this cement place no longer uses the rail. So what I did is, it's really hard to configure your routes, since the trains don't change direction on their own, or they don't go backwards. Like in this instance, you'd have to pull up, shove in, pull out, back up. And then same thing in here. Pull in, pull in. So what I did is I just put an industry here. Unload, unload. And then the train will turn itself around and head back down the hill. So this stuff's more for looks, but that's the best way I can do it. So, but you could still have the Beaumont job. And then we got my old hometown of Yucaipa up here. Had to include that. Alright, so we're going to head down grade now. We'll show you the Cajon Pass. So we got the Santa Fe's. This is called the San Bernardino subdivision. Right about here changes to the Cajon subdivision in the timetables. So they got a decent sized yard, so I did my best to create a little rendition of that. There is an auto rack facility for unloading vehicles and loading vehicles right here, so I included those spur tracks for that. They got a little bit of a diesel place right here for this yard, so I included that. So we'll head up the grade. And then later on you have the Metrolink, and they have the San Bernardino station, which climbs, runs over the yard, and then back down and connects over here. So we'll install that at a later time, but it's there. This is basically the baseline road. Alright, now we're getting into my old route. I still got a lot of signals I gotta put in, but I'll make sure I do that before I release this. Hopefully I remember. So we got it climbing all the way up, and yes, it's the steepest grade you can go all the way up, so it's realistic. You need a lot of power to get up this. So since it's 1985, it's not triple main track like it is now. Over here we got the SP's Mojave subdivision. On our way back down, I'll show you that. Coming up through here, got the freeway, and then this is where you got main track 2, which is now main track 3, splitting for main track 1. Now they split because this track is much steeper, about 3% grade. This is about 2.2% in real life. So this is just a shortcut basically. This was the original track through the Cajon Pass. It's also the one that has claimed all the derailments over the years because of its steepness. So we got like the horseshoe curve here that you have. How it kind of runs up and around and how it's separated. Freeway goes over all three. So I made sure to try to capture that as well as I could. You get towards the top. The SP kind of climbs up a little bit higher. And then you got the summit where these two tracks join back together. If you even look, you can see how much steeper this one is. This is pretty much exactly how it looks when you're cresting the grade here. When you come around this right hand curve and you take a look, you can see this thing drop off like a roller coaster, just like that in real life. Used to come through here every day pretty much. Got the summit crossovers. Now we're running down. We got the natural crossovers, I believe is what these were called, where basically main 1 becomes main 2 and vice versa. Like to note also that this steep track was pretty much for all descending trains, so I made sure to make the route to where all the descending trains go down the steep track like they used to in real life. The less steep track, so main track 1, was for all the ascending trains because it didn't require as many locomotives to bring the train up the hill. So we get down here. This is basically Victorville. It's a pretty famous cement place down here, pretty massive. Cemex Victorville is what it's called, so I named it that. It's got a little yard, and they got their own short line railroad where they have a Y with the Santa Fe that runs up to the surrounding desert mountains. It's not exactly this back and forth. It's a pretty straight shot for them, but hey, I think it looks pretty cool. So, place where you can get stone. Come back down here. So this is basically would be Victorville. Got the overpass, and it's pretty boring from here all the way to Barstow, like it is in real life. Just kind of zigs and zags, or kind of slowly climbing your way up to Victorville. Then we get down to Barstow, where I made little rendition of the Santa Fe's Barstow classification yard. So this would be the receiving yard basically. They got a pretty big engine facility. Got a departure yard, and then I got a little rendition of the hump right here. Then you pull out on this third track, and then they would shove back into the departure yard, and that's how they would build trains basically. There's technically the old Barstow yard right here, but I did not have enough room to put that in, so I'm just trying to get the main things on it. You got the 15 freeway running underneath the main line right here. Crossovers. Then you come in here, which is Daggett. BNSF keeps going. Like I said, this is the portal basically for the Santa Fe. I need to include some industries there, so one of the things I got to do. This is Daggett. CPC 159. I worked out of Yermo for about a year and a half as well, so I'm very familiar with here. So I made a little rendition of Yermo, nothing crazy, there's not much out here. Got the fuel racks, the new yard, the end of the old yard, and then we got Yermo, which we got the Long Beach coal trains that can come out of here. There's grain train that comes out of here. Basically all the other inputs and outputs. Alright, so that's pretty much it for this side of the map. So now we'll take the SP's Mojave sub back down, and then I'll show you the Santa Fe and the UP's main line through the Inland Empire, which I did not show earlier. So this is supposed to be basically the SP's Mojave sub cutoff. So this meets back up in Palmdale with this other line over here. So they both basically climb up the mountain on each end, so this way and then this way, and they meet up in Palmdale and head up to Mojave together to go over to Tehachapi. The SP built this in the 60s so that they can reroute trains down into their new West Colton yard, where they were transferring most of their load for Southern California into. They were phasing out Taylor Yard a little bit, and they were putting everything in the West Colton for the most part. So same thing, got the inputs, the outputs, heavy lumber coming out of here, like I said, from Oregon and all that. Got a little bit of oil coming out of here. This is where your coal train would come out of to head up to go east towards Beaumont. So, track sits higher just like in real life. I kind of had to make the freeway look how it is. It's not exactly accurate, but hey. So we got the first siding here on the SP. Oh, what was this one called? I forget what it was called. Now there's the Silverwood crossover, which connects the BNSF to now the UP, but back then there wasn't, so kept it this way. Going downgrade. Then we got this siding, which I can remember. It's called Canyon. Come in the canyon, around the horseshoe, down, down, down. Cross over the river right here. We got our second siding, which for the life of me I can't remember at the moment, which is hilarious because I used to come this way all the time. That's how it goes. Come on down into Colton basically. Got the kind of famous bridge that runs over the 210. We got the Santa Fe's Pasadena sub, I believe is what it's called. I'll show you that. Then we got the Y down in the Colton, which we can run this direction to keep continuing and over this crossover if we need to go that way. So far I don't have any routes to go over that way. Or we can make a left-hand turn, which the coal train does, and run that way. Alright, so now we're going to take the Santa Fe. So we got the diamond. Back at the diamond here. We got the connecting tracks like in real life. We are going to head west. Right here we have the Hemet branch line that comes off. I'll show you that real quick. Comes through by Marina Valley into Paris. Got some tracks here where they kind of unload various different commodities. There's I believe it's a chemical place that unloads some tank cars. And then back, and during this time, they still ran all the way to Hemet. Now they basically don't run past Paris over there. But you probably bring out some farming products, and then we got a place to input into Hemet as well as Paris. So we got that branch line you can mess around with. That route is already set up to deliver to all those industries. So we come here to Greater Riverside where the UP branches off. We'll check that out on the way back. Heading west, right here we got Corona. Got a little yard here in Corona like they do in real life. There was a branch line that cut off here and ran up all the way to Lake Elsinore back in the day. It does not anymore, but if you wish to do that, you have the option. Got the end of the track right there. Got the freeways coming through here. There's actually a cool, pretty long bridge from what I remember right here that crosses the river. I believe this is the Santa Ana River. Haven't been through here in real life in quite some time. Run through here, run through here. Now in real life there is another subdivision that splits off. There's a kind of a big Y splits off here. Goes through Anaheim, Santa Ana, Dana Point, San Clemente, and all the way down to San Diego. So you can always connect that up at some point. Not only am I just pointing out the freight side of things, but passenger trains will be great. You have freeways for trucking, plenty of cities for airplanes, and then you got all the cargo for the ships. So we're heading back, and we're back to Commerce. Real life, there's a couple of intermodal yards here, so I might add that in before I release the mod. And then we're back from basically where we started. The Alameda Corridor is now what it's called. So this is where the UP's LA subdivision branches off, and this is basically how it was back in the day. They had trackage rights to go from Daggett to Riverside. Then they built their own line to Commerce, basically. UP runs through here like the Santa Fe. It's double tracked, city of industry. Right, this is where the SP and the UP kind of run side by side here in this little valley. That's how it is in real life. We got Pomona, Megalomaniac, and then something I thought would be cool to add in is there's Riverside. I'll show you it over here. Riverside Cement Co. is what it's called. And there's actually this little branch line that runs up here. So I thought I'd add that in. I also need to add a little yard here in Megalomaniac as well. That's probably where that train will run out of. So basically you got all these little yards where locals run out of, or switchers, whatever you want to call them, to service the cities and these selective industries I placed. Then you could have a mainline manifest train come through, pick up and drop off cargo along the route as it passes through. Meanwhile, the intermodal trains are going from point A to point B. Those are your money makers. And the intermodal trains don't typically make stops in real life like the manifests do. So that's why for these, got the UP Los Angeles sub, which is yellow. So this is for intermodal, this is for intermodal, and this is for intermodal. So you'll have to create your own manifest train routes once these yards are in, so you can pick up and drop off. That's if you want to do it like that. That's how I play the game. That's pretty realistic. So the last thing I'll show you before I wrap this up is the Santa Fe's Pasadena sub, I believe is what it's called. It's coming here out of San Bernardino yard. Come through here. Actually runs underneath the SP's Mojave sub. Comes through here, Fontana, Kaiser. You got Kaiser Steel right here. So this is where you can take some coal and some iron ore too to make some steel. There's plenty of places that take steel on this map. Through Upland it runs. Down into San Dimas. Over to Azusa. And then you got the Miller Coors facility, which takes quite a bit of grain, at least in this game. But the Santa Fe switches this out to this day. So I put that in there. Same thing, you know, it's kind of a spur track coming in, so it'd be hard to kind of go back and forth. So I just added to this little siding right here. But you could always make this a functioning industry yourself if you wish to. Through Monrovia and then ends in Pasadena. So yeah, guys, that's pretty much the gist of this map. I think you're going to be plenty busy. I hope you enjoy it. Put a lot of effort into this. And I'm going to put some more effort into it because I want to keep making it as good as possible. Like I said, it will be out on the workshop by the time you see this video. Make sure to check out my other maps. The last 3 maps, including this one, I put a lot of effort into. So we got the Tehachapi Loop one is already on there. Realistic route from Bakersfield to Mojave over Tehachapi. That turned out great. So, yeah. I appreciate it, and you know, the only thing I really care about with putting in this much effort and stuff is give our channel a subscribe. That's what we're kind of afterwards. That's what we're trying to grow it, and yeah, so that's, if you want to make a donation, just subscribe to the channel and watch our videos. They're going to be good, so I appreciate it. We'll talk to you guys later.